But when we talk about psychology, it is a branch of social sciences. So whenever we do research in social sciences, there are primarily some types of research which are applicable only for social science field. So survey research, ex post facto research, experimental research, and case study researches are the four main types of research which we do in psychology and social sciences. So we'll see each one of this. Actually, in the book, what has happened is, when you also read, you'll realize that there's a sudden jump to these four types of research methods, which is slightly advanced. So to reach this level, we'll first see what are the basic types of research. We are going
Yeah,
to study these
Vikram.
four only.
Vikram, just a minute. I think this is the second block, right? This is not the
Yes,
first block.
this is the second block.
Ah, so you've moved to the, you've done with the first block completely, is it?
Yes,
That
introduction to
is.
RM is completely done. There are
Oh, all
50
the four
slides on that.
units in that you covered the other day, is
Yes,
it?
yes, yes.
Oh, is it?
And
Okay.
if you
Okay.
remember in the last, I rushed through the slides. I wanted everybody to go through the book because they were, I mean, repetition of things. So the
But
first one is already over. This is the part two
Vikram,
of it.
I want to say something. Okay, unit one was still okay because it was more of theory part. But if you go to second unit, when we
Mm-hmm.
talk about reliability and validity,
Mm-hmm.
so you did touch upon these, but there are so many tests which we should know ideally. So
Okay.
there is the retest reliability, then there are
Mm-hmm.
parallel forms, how it's done, then there is a split half reliability. So we
Okay.
need to understand that also.
So you want to go into depth of that, so we'll cover it
Of
next time.
course,
We'll
yes,
do that. We'll do
yes.
that.
So it
So,
would be nice if you can take us through point wise,
yeah, that's good. We can do that.
because this
I.
is how we are studying all these
Mm-hmm.
chapters, like all these subjects.
Mm-hmm.
So we go point wise. If it's just an introduction, we give introduction. Then second point, we talk about that point. Then 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, so that when we read the literature, we should
Mm-hmm.
understand what we are reading. We should remember, like there's a method called ELF. What was the name? Yeah, this is Khuda Richardson estimate of reliability.
Okay.
So
So that was the last part of that topic one, which we'll go through
it's
next time.
unit
Then,
two.
yep, unit two. Yep.
Okay, so
Introduction
what
to
we're
RM.
teaching today, let's keep that, and
Yeah.
then we
Today
need to
we'll
go back
concentrate
to,
on types of research.
yeah, but we need to go
Yeah,
back
yeah.
to
Vikram,
one.
tomorrow you can take us through validity and reliability. I
Fine.
think that will
Validity,
be good.
reliability. I thought it was little self-explanatory, so I didn't go through it. But tomorrow. Okay.
We are not your IQ level, yeah. Think of all of us also here, na?
No, no, no. I
Okay,
would.
okay, let's go
We'll go
ahead.
in depth. Okay.
And second is to
Yes.
go through the whole syllabus.
Yeah, so this is the
Yeah, yeah.
syllabus, but going through the syllabus directly would confuse everybody. Like I got confused while reading the book. So we would first see what are the basic types of research, because these four: survey research, ex post facto research, experimental and case study researches are basically subsets of basic types of research. So we'll just quickly go through it. Now, as a fundamental, major types of research which are defined conceptually and theoretically are descriptive type of research, analytical, applied research, basic, fundamental. These are terms which are important as a basic about types of research. Quantitative, qualitative, conceptual, non-scientific, or empirical. So these types of research give birth to these four types. We will go through it one by one. What is descriptive research? So what happens is, whenever we are doing a type of research, we focus on a particular type of fundamental way of finding out that particular topic. That is called a type of research. So we define it as descriptive when surveys and fact finding inquiries are of different kinds in that particular research. As the word says, descriptive, here what we are doing, we are trying to describe a problem. We are trying to describe what is the present state of that particular problem existing, and how we are planning to derive a new study out of it, how we are describing a new study out of it. So wherever we are doing that kind of an analysis is called as descriptive. It is a kind of ex post facto research. Now, by ex post facto, what we mean is when a event has already happened and we are trying to find out the causes of why it had happened. So we are now describing some variables. We are now identifying some dependent variables, some independent variables. and we are trying to find a correlation of them because we already know the end result. That is how it becomes your ex post facto research. So we are describing a new analysis and a process. So in this, the researcher has got no control over the variables. He can report what has happened or what is happening. There can be multiple variables which are involved. For example, a skill test of employees in an organization. Now, what happens in a skill test in an organization? We know the variables. The variables are human beings and the different skill sets they have. So now we are trying to describe the method in which they are, the employees are performing a particular activity. So that is the definition of his skill. So that's how we are describing the process. So this is one basic type. Descriptive research is predominantly used whenever we are trying to analyze a process. You know, in a PhD or in a research, when we are defining a process and trying to understand that, we are trying to describe what is happening. It is used there. Now, descriptive research are of primarily four types as per our syllabus. It is survey research, case study. This I've turned in blue because of a reason. Correlational study and comparative study. So what happens in a survey research and case study research is there in our social sciences. So whenever we are doing psychological research which is having survey in its component, it is a type of descriptive research used in social sciences. Second, when we are doing a specific case study analysis and trying to describe a process, for example, we are trying to describe a particular mental behavior and we are researching on it as a psychology. So that description, which is case study in nature, is a type of descriptive research. So I'll just go a few slides behind. Now you see the correlation what I'm trying to make. Survey research, ex post facto research, case study research. These three things have been listed directly in a book, but they are actually kinds of descriptive research. We are going to go through it in the next few slides, what in detail too. Okay. Analytical research is the second broad type of research. It involves in-depth study and evaluation of available information in order to explain a phenomenon. So analytical, analyze. For example, we are now this deals with a lot of mathematics. This deals with a lot of statistics. So wherever we are analyzing a particular situation with the help of statistical tools, with the help of bar diagrams, with the help of say mathematical analysis, we are analyzing output. That kind of research wherever we are applying in many field is called as analytical research. Here the researcher has to use facts or information already available and analyze these to make a critical evaluation of the material or the subject or particular situation. For example, a stock market research. Here variables are already identified, various types of stocks, various type of market variations. What the researcher is doing, he is analyzing that data and trying to evaluate a particular aspect. So he is doing an analysis. So any research where there is analysis involved and mathematics involved is a type of an analytical research. Subdivision of analytical research has a particular, these four types: historical researches, philosophical researches, reviews, where we are doing reviews of a process, research synthesis. For example, meta-analysis. By meta-analysis, we mean the analysis of content that of a review which is already published. So we are analyzing a situation. We are analyzing a review. A review has been given by some in a form of theory. We are trying to analyze its impact. So you see the difference here. This is not related to social sciences. We don't do an analytical research in social sciences as a rule. Okay, applied research. Okay, I'm just not able to see this. 1 second. All right. Now, in applied research, this particular type of research is useful when we are trying to find a solution of an immediate problem. So, for example, we have institutions of applied research in chemistry or say in management. What they do, they apply a particular subject to find out the analysis behind that theory. So broadly, if you understand, it is a research which is aimed to find a social or a political trend that may affect a particular institution. For example, marketing research, evaluation research. We are focusing on a particular industry and a particular endpoint which we are aware of. So we are trying to apply a theory and trying to find out the concept. So this is broadly applied research. Okay, this is important. Basic fundamental research. Now, here important thing is that these are the theory, these are the aspects where we are forming a new theory. A basic research or a fundamental research is, for example, uh, we talk about natural phenomenons. Uh, Water turns into ice when it cools. It's a very basic phenomenon which happens. So that's a fundamental research. So this is predominantly used in natural sciences, physical sciences, physics. In physics, we do a lot of fundamental research. Characteristics of light, characteristics of how sound waves travel. So these are fundamentals which we are researching as a researcher. These are called fundamental researches. So they say it is concerned with generalizations and formulations of new theory. Why? Because a fundamental theory forms the backbone of further studies. So light travels, uh, sound travels faster. You know, this kind of concept when we are now applying in real world in different complicated scenarios, that is where we are generalizing a fundamental theory. So fundamental research leads to a formulation of a theory which can be used for further studies. It is basically finding information that has a broad base of how that information is applied. So one type of research. Then there is a broad form of research called quantitative research. As it says, very descriptive. Quantitative is measurement of quantity and weights, amounts, physical weight, physical measuring. For example, weight of a particular aspect subject. We are trying to find out what is a basic quantitative research was what is the weight of 1 kilo. 1 kilo is how much? Or say, for example, we are measuring speed of something. So that is we are quantitatively trying to do a research as a researcher. When we focus on the quality, characters, personality, uh, for example, we are now trying to qualitate the study. It is called qualitative research. For example, word association tests, sentence completion tests, we focus on quality of a particular characteristic. That is broadly called as qualitative research. So all our basic researches in social sciences lead from qualitative research. Okay, conceptual or experimental research. As the name says, these are the researches where we have got a theory and an idea, and we are trying to reinterpret the existing ones by multiple iterations. For example, in a lab, we are trying to do a chemical analysis and trying to find out new readings. We have got some independent variables which are dependent on the dependent variables, and we are trying to find out the effect of one variable on the other. For example, heating water makes it turn into steam. So water is a variable, heat is a variable. What is the effect of heat on water? That kind of experimental research when it does. These are called experimental researches. Some other types of researches are based on time. That is the survey research. Survey research, we are going to see in, further ahead. This is a type of cross-sectional research, which is maybe one time or longitudinal. By cross-sectional, we mean there are multiple variables which we are trying to find out in the survey. For example, I'll take this example ahead because we are discussing this at length. Some one type of research is based on the environment. It can be based in the natural world, which is called a field research. It can be based in a controlled environment, which is made specifically for a research environment. That's called a lab or a instrumentation setup. Then we've got clinical or diagnostic researches. So what is presently happening with our vaccinations and all that is all clinical and diagnostic researches. These are case study based on a particular uh, phenomena which has happened. Then a broad type of research is exploratory research. So here we are trying to make a new theory. We are exploring, as the English word says, exploring a new type of research. Hypothesis is not getting tested here because we don't have an assumption. We are doing a new thing. We are trying to find out a new exploration. Formalized research, where we already have a theory which is substantiated with the help of hypothesis. So broadly, these are the types of. So you will get confused with all these type of research, and they will all intermix. So it may happen. And for example, my particular type of research, a researcher will say, no, it's formalized because you're already having an hypothesis which is testing. So that is called bias of a researcher. We'll come to that later. Then, broad sense, there are historical researches where we are studying historical aspects. So, in psychology, it is not valid, but in history, we are now studying about, say, British era or a particular palace, history of a palace, and we're trying to do a research on that, how palace came into being. So, we are utilizing old historical resources. Broadly, we have conclusion oriented researches where we are picking up a problem, we are redesigning the inquiry because we know the conclusion, and we are conceptualizing, again a kind of ex post facto research. There are researches which are decision oriented, where we as a decision maker, we are knowing that this is the particular aspect where we are subject which we are researching. For example, operations research. The subject is already defined. The decision of how we are arriving at a thing is aspect is being addressed here. Okay, survey research. This type of research is basically very important for our syllabus and very important for psychology and social sciences. Here, what happens is it's a non-experimental and a descriptive kind of a research. Why we say non-experimental? Because we are not utilizing any laboratory or instrumentation setup. Here we are focusing on questionnaires and survey interviews primarily. So we make questionnaires, we distribute questionnaires to a set of people. So if you see psychological aspect, this is exactly what happens in a psychological setup. We are now say for example talking about an individual's thought process. So we make a questionnaire based on those variables which we want to test, and we distribute that questionnaire to various individuals. This questionnaire can be distributed in the form of emails, it can be a handwritten questionnaire, it can be a pamphlet, it can be through WhatsApp, Google Reports, whatever. So there are various types of questionnaires which are there. These questionnaires give you a response from the respondent, and that analysis we do. Here, we do not have any hypothesis testing because we are not working on any assumption. We are just collecting data in the form of questionnaires. It's a very important aspect of survey research that this has no hypothesis testing. It is very important to know this. It has leading to some findings based on the questionnaire and the interviews. Interviews can be in the form of personal interviews, they can be in the form of say we give a telephonic call and take some interview over the phone. We analyze all the situation, we find out the output, and we make a report. So cross, okay, a lot of S. Cross sectional and longitudinal are the two types of survey researches. By cross sectional, we mean when we are focusing on, for example, we are now focusing on various different types of aspects in a characteristic or a behavior. Here it is time based. So cross sectional is a particular event which has happened, which have got different variables. So when we are analyzing different variables effect on a particular variable at that particular time, it's called cross sectional. When we are analyzing one situation over a long period of time, it is called longitudinal. For example, we study about human behavior. So human behavior in times of crisis is a cross sectional type of survey research which we will do. But human behavior over a period of time, over a period of age span, so say people in their 30s, how they behave in a extended 30s time, extended teens, That is longitudinal. So when we talk, I'll give explain this again. Uh, we discuss human behavior in one particular situation. That okay, when it is a crisis, say for example, if it is very cold condition, how a human being is going to behave. So that particular aspect is a time based aspect where we are talking about a particular event happening in that particular time domain, which is limited by a characteristic like cold weather or say a crisis situation. That is called a cross sectional type of uh, research, where we are giving him questionnaires and interviews for that particular event. When we talk about a long duration and its effect, that is called a longitudinal duration, this thing, survey research. Okay, survey research is very commonly used in psychology and social sciences because we are now collecting data from varied set of population. It ascertains self-reported attitudes or behaviors of people and ideally questions a representative and random sample of people. So what we are doing, we are sending a report or a questionnaire to random people either, or we are asking for volunteers. So a representative or a random sample of people. Second type of research, which is there in social sciences, which is very important, is experimental research. So experimenter manipulates the independent variables and then measures the result of its effect on the dependent variables, as I explained earlier also. So here it can be a random assignment, which can be focused on a controlled group. So that means you treat the same experimental group for independent variables also. Similarly, if you don't treat that for the independent variables, it's called as an experimental group. So control group means where variables are common, and now we are not changing much. We know our focus group. That is the focus group where we are going to focus our study on. It's called the control group. Experimental group, where we are now same group, we are trying to experiment different permutation combinations and asking different questions. So that is where we are varying the independent variables. So resulting differences here in experimental research are the differences in the readings that we have. So here we are doing experimentation. The condition of experiment exposes the participants to the treatment, that is to one version of independent variable. So it's easy to understand that in a psychological aspect, this is exactly what we're wanting to do. We condition the experiment and expose those participants or those respondents to a type of situation where one version of what aspect we are looking at is dependent, and we are trying to experiment the psychological aspect on it. All right, so experimental research can happen in controlled condition. That means the condition of experiment contrasts with the experimental treatment and serves as an ideal comparison for evaluating the effect of treatment. So basically, we are now making an environment for that particular output to occur. Okay, experimental research is based on a lot of experiments. This is also very prevalent in physics, chemistry, biology, because here we are doing experiments, noting readings, identifying variables which are getting affected due to dependency and interdependencies. Similarly, field experiments and real life in real world experiments are two types where we can do experimental research. Um, in experimental research, we can focus on the environment when we go to the real world. So there, what a researcher does, he goes to the real world and analyzes the situation that is happening in front of him by means of experiments. What we see magic shows, and there's these TV programs where an individual is going and researching on mental. They approach a group of people standing in the market. They ask them, okay, this is what experiment I'm doing, how will you react? So that is real life in real world. When and field experiments, there we are not based on any assumptions. We are just taking inputs and trying and analyzing them. Statistical analysis based on samples and readings. So in chemistry, when we do iterations, or in physics, when we do measurements, that is what brings us to this aspect. Okay, ex post facto research. So this type of research, by English meaning, if we understand, it is a retrospective research for an event which has already occurred. It is focusing on behaviors where variables cannot be manipulated. Something has already happened. It involves hypothesis testing. So what difference between ex post facto and survey research is the aspect of hypothesis testing. So when we are doing an ex post facto research, we already know the output. We are assuming whether that output was true or was false. That is where we are developing the hypothesis. Then this leads us to a cause and effect of that particular researcher's bias. That is called as post hoc fallacy of cause and effect bias. Now what happens here is, I already know my output, and I'm trying to vary the input of why that output has happened. So researchers bias of knowing the output can lead to identification of wrong variables. That is where hypothesis can go wrong. It is called as post hoc fallacy. This is a terminology which is asked, which is written in the book. I'll go through the book text also and tell you what it means more. All right. Any doubts still here? Anybody?
No, looks good.
Okay, so post hoc fallacy, I will just quickly read out also from the book, because this is slightly important. This as a part of the question which comes ex post facto. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll just read out from the text. It says, while predicting the causal relationships between the variables, the researcher falls prey to the bias called post hoc fallacy. The concept of post hoc fallacy says that it is a tendency of human beings to arrive at conclusions or predictions when two factors go together. One is the cause, one is the effect. Because, for example, delinquency and parenthood go together, we may come to a conclusion that delinquency is the effect and parenthood is the cause, whereas in reality it is not so. So you understand what I'm trying to say? The book also says it only this much. It says, in simple words, that we know the output and what has caused it. So the bias of a researcher may vary. Vikram may say that this has happened because of this reason. A, B, C, D, E might say it has happened because of different reasons. So that bias, when it acts on knowing the end result already, is called as post hoc fallacy. So cause and effect, uh, when they are contradicting with each other. All right. Case study approach. This particular thing is very important in psychology. This is a type of descriptive research. Now by design it is a single case design. So we focus on, for example, a child, or for example, a old age human being. A particular case, when we are trying to research, is called as case study research. This is very prevalent in clinical psychology, and it must lead to generalized studies later on. So this means that when we do a case study analysis, our research endeavor should be to make sure that that case study can be generalized on future aspects. It is illustrative because it is specific event based. For example, a child's mental condition in a particular environment is a specific event that we are case study as a case study which we're studying. It can be exploratory because the behavior is being read for the first time in clinical psychology, and this study can lead to more detailed studies. So that is a characteristic of exploratory studies. It can be cumulative also, because it can be collection of old studies. For example, psychological behavior of a child. It has got a lot of theories which are already existing. We are cumulatively now doing case studies to find out and compare it with the old studies. It is some critical instance studies as a type of case study where we are analyzing a critical aspect which has happened. And usually here we talk to here expert panels are involved in deciding what is the case study. So it is self-explanatory. Whenever we are talking about case study, for example, a set of doctors discussing a case and trying to analyze that aspect as a form of a research, the expert panel is involved because they are well versed in that aspect. All right, so this was some aspects which I wanted to cover here in the presentation. I'm going to read out a particular aspect. Okay. Now, when we go to a question, go to different types of research in a survey method. In a book, what there's a very just one second. I'll just go through the slide there. Yeah. So after knowing this much about types of research, we should be clear that what we have to focus in this particular subject as far as the syllabus is concerned is survey research, ex post facto research, experimental research, and case study research. So when we talk about survey research, in survey research, the first step that is defined is what are the systematic steps that are followed in order to reach this research. So here we don't have any hypothesis. This is very important to note. What we do is we determine the aim first. We go to the we identify the population type that is to be studied. We design the survey analysis. By designing, we mean we design the questionnaire or we design the interview. What are the different types of interview questions that are going to come up? We are going to then decide the type of sample we are addressing on that particular questionnaire. We then administer the survey. By administering the survey, we mean that after selection of the sample, researcher is trying to conduct that instrument or tool on the selected sample and collecting as much as data as possible. So when we make a Google form, make a questionnaire, and we send it to various respondents, and we are now collecting data is basically as an administrator administrating the entire process. We analyze and interpret the findings of the survey on their face value. We don't do any assumptions, no hypothesis, and we make a report and communicate the findings of survey. So this is how the survey research is done. Now, in survey research, the questionnaire can be of a lot of types, but what is important in psychology is we can circulate the questionnaire by means of emails or uh, by means of groups. For example, a class, we can go and distribute pamphlets, a group of students. Third is we can do it in households. We have people coming into houses asking for data at times. So that's one type of distributing a questionnaire. Interview method has got three different types. One is interview is basically a face-to-face interaction. It can be a structured interview. By structured interview, we mean the questions are already defined. We know, okay, these are the 10 questions which I'm going to ask from the respondent. So we structure those particular questions. That's called a structured interview. An unstructured interview is a one where we are having an informal interaction with the respondent. So based on respondents' answers, we are framing our new questions and we have not defined any limit to the questions. So that is an unstructured interview. Then it can be a telephonic interview. So in order to save time, money, traveling, in order to save resources, not employ a lot of volunteers, we can telephonically interview and collect data from a survey. So types of survey, cross-sectional and longitudinal, as we discussed. Cross-sectional surveys are used by researcher when he or she wants to collect data from different type groups. And it is predominantly for a specific time frame. An example of such survey can be an effect of socialization of children of different age groups of a particular country at that particular time. Whereas the second type is a longitudinal survey, very easy to understand. This type of research is used when subjects wants to study same sample for a longer period of time. So there are, for example, religious effects, behavioral changes, effect of weather on human behavior. These are longitudinal surveys. Uh, there are three types of longitudinal surveys which are defined in the book. One is trend studies, cohort studies, and panel studies. By trend studies, we mean when the researcher needs to analyze a particular trend or a phenomenon in a population. So, in psychology, what is the trend, for example, of a number of graduates actively using library of a university? How well they are able to use the library? So, we are analyzing a trend. So, that is trend studies. Cohort studies, they focus on type of longitudinal study, which is a particular population which is sampled and studied more than once in a time gap. For example, an investigation of number of graduates of a year who have been actively using library, and some years later researcher may want to find out how the new set of graduates are using the library. So there are two different groups which have analyzed a particular situation and two different time gaps. So that is how it is called as a cohort study. Then the third type of survey research analysis can be done in the form of panel studies. Panel studies is nothing. Here, instead of going to random individuals, we are going to a specific panel of people and trying to find out a particular subject. For example, it is used to investigate changes in attitude, behavior, or practices of the same panel within a period of time. So, time is very important in longitudinal and cross sectional surveys. So, if anybody can think of an example, when we were in school, we used to be told a particular survey team is coming to our classroom. Now, that is a cross sectional study which they are doing in different time gaps. They do that survey and they go. We don't know where they have gone and what they have done with that. So, that is a type of survey which is called cross sectional. Okay, constructing in the booklet you will find out a lot of questions which are there in the survey. How you frame structured questions. What are the various characteristics of a unstructured type of question? I am not going to go through that because this is all English, which is easy to understand. For example, university has well equipped and fully furnished library. Strongly agree, agree, cannot say, disagree, strongly disagree. So, what is important here to understand is that questions should be simple, it should not have any ambiguity, and these questions should be able to give you a response which you can use for your interpretation. Okay, so for example, a wrong question can be: does the library of university have an electronic database system which is utilized? So it's a long question which is utilized for research. So it should be simple. Does the library of university have an electronic database? Yes or no? So it is now giving you a response. Then level of unstructured questions are defined. In unstructured questions, they are usually used in interview, where either the researcher does not prepare a list of questions or a series of questions might demand adequate or required information from the individual. So unstructured question is something like that. It is basically used when the researcher takes full care and silently is trying to probe the individual and coming to an analysis. So basically the question is not structured. Excuse me. Okay. In survey, there are four difficulties which are defined, which is the problems of conducting a survey research. Number one is issues on selecting the type of survey. What kind of survey do you want? Do you want to survey individuals? Do you want to survey panels? Do you want to survey a geographical location? Do you want to survey a college? So these are questions which are there in the individual's researchers bias. They're trying to find out. So this is one of the issues in a survey. If we generalize one particular survey to everybody, whether that group was good enough to be generalized, these are the kind of issues that come up. Second drawback of a survey research is what kind of instrument we want to use to do the survey. So while constructing the survey, researcher needs to have full knowledge of suitability of the questions, whether that question would lead to a good answer back or not, whether the type of questions are specific or not. Then third difficulty of this problem is the bias issues. Researchers bias is prevalent when we ask a question, because I am approaching the respondent with a preconceived set of questions. So behavior should be a socially desired one. The researcher should not lose track and should avoid a false bias report. Then last issue is survey requires a lot of time and lot of cost. Selected area, we have to be really planned when you are talking about a survey. So these are some aspects about surveys. So quickly going through ex post facto in a similar manner, the entire process is same, but here the difference is that we are now trying to interpret the hypothesis. Here we determine the problem. These are steps of ex post facto research. We start from determining a problem. Because it is ex post facto, already the studies are existing. So when studies are existing, what you do in research is literature review. So literature reviews you have to do. In surveys, we did not do literature reviews. Ex post facto, we studied last time about the literature review and its importance. Whatever studies are already done form the literature, which is very important to be done in case of an ex post facto. Based on that literature, we formulate a hypothesis, a null hypothesis or an alternate hypothesis. And then we do testing of that hypothesis and we interpret the result and conclude. So there's a in the book there is a column which says differences between uh, experimental and ex post facto research, differences between survey design and ex post facto research. So main differences in hypothesis and past studies which are available in case of ex post facto. And there are some other differences about variables which are listed in it. Then in ex post facto, we have the concept of post hoc fallacy, that is cause and effect. So this is important. And this is about it. Okay, in experimental research, they talk mainly about field experiments, experimental research, and differences between experimental researchers and field researchers. So in field research, we have a particular subject which is having different characteristics. Whereas in experimental research, we are controlled in that particular environment. And experimental research is usually replicable. For example, in chemistry, we are doing a iteration. So that iterative process is every time getting repeated and we are trying to replicate it. Whereas in a field experiment, it might not be so. They require modifications of different types in the process to match the previous result. Okay, constructing a field experiment is requires a lot of planning. It requires environment, infrastructure. It requires a lot of tools, a lot of various implements. Say for example, we need a particular set of apparatus, so it requires a lot of tools. It requires a procedure that has to be well defined as a process and standard operating procedure. So it is little complicated when it comes to research. This is done in psychology because we are going and exploring the new world. Then statistical analysis is very important in experimentation because whatever data we are collecting, we are analyzing it statistically. Okay, a research single case experimental design. Then there is in this what they are trying to say in the book is that A single case experiment is useful in clinical research, especially in area of behavior modification. This design provides us the detailed information of human behavior, which is not possible in group designs because we are now focusing on a single individual. And here, repeated measurements are possible and we can note the changes of the behavior. So, that is where single case experimental design is being made. Okay, so this is about only this much is there in the this thing. Last one is our case study. So, in case study, what happens? We are basically defining the case study and types of case, how we select a particular case depends on criticality of the case, extreme or deviations in a already existing process which are available, and some cases which are having past experiences involved. So we decide this is a particular subject which we are going to analyze. It is useful in psychology because it is a descriptive form of approach where we are using this case study to find out an in-depth analysis of a group of people or a particular person. Now, there are some types of case studies which are available in this particular aspect. One is the first is illustrative case study. Now, illustrative is primarily descriptive study. They utilize illustrations, maybe one or two, to reach a particular outcome. Second type is an exploratory study or a pilot case study where that aspect of individual is not known to us. We are doing an exploration of a particular case. For example, somebody's new mental behavior, which is not known anywhere. We are exploring what is the issue that has happened. Cumulative case studies are the third types. Here, a lot of case studies we are comparing. For example, individual A, B, C, D, E, F, all of them have encountered a particular case, a condition. We are trying to analyze from different sources that how, in generalization, what is it? So these serve, cumulative case studies serve to aggregate information from several sites collected at different times. The idea behind these studies is collection of past studies will allow for a greater generalization without additional cost or time being expended on a new research or a possibly repetition of a study. Then the fourth type is critical instance case study. These examine one or more sites for either the purpose of examining a situation of unique interest with little or no generalizability, or to call highly universal assertion. This method is used for answering cause and effect questions. So, if you understand in a broader sense, each type is specific to a particular case. Tomorrow, as a researcher, when you are analyzing a subject, what is going to happen? We are going to find the study. In that study, we are going to find a problem. In that problem, how we apply each of these, the either we do research, survey research, or ex post facto research, or experimental research, or the fourth one, it is based on specific instances that we select a particular type of research. Okay, lastly, in case study, like in the first three we identified steps. Here, first step is to determine the present status of the case. Second, we lead on to identifying the most probable antecedent or the reason behind that case to occur. We verify the hypothesis of why it has happened. We diagnose the reason why it has happened. We follow up on the case continuously because case study won't end. For example, a particular individual's behavior is continuously changing. So we are analyzing it continuously. And it case study involves a panel of experts. So that is important. Okay, so that's all in the book. This is all that is about types of researches which are available. So to quickly sum up, these four are subsets of these major types of research studies. So What is descriptive in all these four? Survey research is descriptive, ex post facto is descriptive, case study can be descriptive, or it can be conceptual, because we are now trying to find out new concept. So we have to correlate as researchers about all this, and uh, select our type of research that we are doing. So that's it. I think research methods are this much type only, and our scope is only this much in this subject. It's going to be 10. So if anybody has a question, or if anybody wants to add on to whatever we have spoken.
Vikram, difficult to catch up with your level and speed, यार. एक दिन में you are finishing one book, huh?
No,
Your
because it's more of,
comprehension level is another level altogether, huh?
no. So you know, in this, the best part is that it's all very, very simple English that has to be read once. It is very difficult to put all these things into perspective of a human being when we're talking. So my intention is that we should be aware about the terminologies. The way I've read it, I've also read this book for the first time. Whatever, and now with this background of the slides, when we go through the book, we'll be able to go through it faster. That's the aim.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think you've taken us through the whole thing. I
Mhm.
think now we'll be able to understand it better when we. So
Yeah,
thanks for
so
that. Yeah, nice.
yeah, I think somebody was speaking in between, who's okay. So I cannot hear you, Mr. Sadashiv.